Cartomancy, a 14th century practice of using cards to predict the future or gain insight into a situation. The most common forms are tarot, oracle cards, and playing cards. Tarot involves a deck of 78 cards divided into the major arcana and the minor arcana. The major arcana represents significant life events, while the minor one deals with everyday issues. Tarot readings often explore themes of love, career, and personal growth. Oracle cards are similar to tarot but don't follow a strict structure. They vary in theme and number of cards, offer more flexibility, and often focus on specific guidance. Playing cards are used in traditional fortune telling. Each card has a meaning, and readings typically involve interpreting combinations of cards to answer questions and predict outcomes. In all forms, the reader interprets the cards based on their positions, the order they were chosen, and the symbols on them to provide insights. Cleromancy. This is a form of divination where random objects are cast and their positions or patterns are interpreted to gain insights or predict the future. Common tools include dice, runes, and the I Ching. Dice divination uses dice to answer questions or reveal future events. The outcome is determined by the numbers or symbols that appear when the dice are thrown. Rune casting is often used in modern pagan traditions. Runes are an ancient alphabet used in Germanic and Scandinavian countries before the Latin alphabet. The runes are cast or drawn randomly, and their meanings are interpreted based on their positions and traditional symbolism. Each rune represents different concepts like health, love, or challenges. I Ching is an ancient Chinese method where coins or yarrow sticks are used to generate a hexagram, a symbol made of 6 lines, which is often interpreted using the Book of Changes. A similar method called Ifa is used in African Yoruba traditions. Casting small objects as a divination method is also mentioned in the Bible, such as in Leviticus 16:8, where Moses was commanded to cast lots between 2 goats, one for sacrifice and one as a scapegoat carrying the people's sins into the wilderness. In South India, especially in Kerala, a similar practice involves tossing seashells and interpreting their positions. Even in ancient Rome and among Germanic tribes, fortunes were told by casting lots. In Cleromancy, the randomness of the casting is believed to connect with a higher power, deity, or fate. Scrying is a divination practice where one gazes into a medium to receive visions, prophecies, or insights. This method often involves entering a self-induced trance-like state. During this trance, initial images become more vivid. Some scryers report hearing their own voice affirming these images, creating a feedback loop that enhances the clarity of the visions. Common forms include crystal ball scrying, where one gazes into a crystal ball to see images or symbols that provide guidance or answers. Mirror scrying, using a mirror to reflect images or symbols. Water scrying, observing the patterns or reflections in water. Fire scrying, watching flames or embers in a fire to interpret patterns or symbols that reveal information. Or smoke scrying, observing the shapes and movement of smoke. Palmistry, also known as Chiromancy, is the practice of interpreting the lines, shapes, and features of the hands to gain insights into a person's character and future. During hand shape analysis, the shape of the hand is divided into types like earth, air, fire, water, each reflecting different personality traits and tendencies. During line reading, key lines on the palm are analyzed. The heart line represents emotional states and relationships. The head line reflects intellect and decision making. The life line indicates overall health and life path. The fate line, which is not present on everyone, shows career and life changes, but interpretations of lines and features vary widely among different teachings. Palmistry has ancient roots in Hindu astrology and Roma fortune telling. It is part of a traditional Indian study of bodily features. From India, palmistry then spread to China, Tibet, and Europe. During the Renaissance, palmistry was even considered one of the 7 forbidden arts and was actively suppressed by the Catholic Church with edicts from Pope Paul IV and Pope Sixtus V. Pendulum divination involves using a weighted object, often a crystal or gemstone, suspended on a chain or string to answer questions or locate objects. Pendulum divination is ideal for quick yes or no answers or simple guidance without the need for cards. For answering yes/no questions, the pendulum's movement, swinging in different directions or circles, indicates the response. For more detailed responses, a pendulum or Ouija board can be used, which includes a grid with letters, numbers, or symbols to provide more in-depth answers. Some recommend cleansing the pendulum on a windsill in direct sunlight for a day before usage. It's also recommended to charge it with your own energies by holding it in your hands for 5 minutes. Dowsing is a divination method used to locate underground water, minerals, grave sites, harmful energies, and more without scientific tools. It typically involves using a Y-shaped twig or two L-shaped rods, called dowsing or divining rods. The movement of these rods is believed to indicate the location of the target. Dowsing has ancient origins, but was banned by the Catholic Church and condemned by Reformer Martin Luther in 1518 as contrary to the First Commandment. In 1662, it was even deemed superstitious or satanic. Ogham Divination. This is a modern practice often used by contemporary pagans to predict future events and communicate with deities or ancestors. While some claim that Ogham is an ancient Celtic system of fortune-telling used by druids and shamans for thousands of years, its use in divination today is largely a modern adaptation. The practice involves a set of 25 symbols based on the letters of the ancient Irish Gaelic script, Ogham. Each symbol corresponds to a letter and is part of a specific group. The Ogham symbols can be cast, much like runes or bones, or drawn from a bag, much like tarot cards. Each symbol is associated with a tree or plant, along with various meanings related to nature, spiritual concepts, or personal qualities. Automatic writing or Tasseography. This is the practice of writing words without consciously controlling the writing process. Practitioners believe that spirits guide their hands to produce messages, often using a pencil, planchette, or Ouija board. The writer may enter a trance or remain fully awake while allowing their hand to move involuntarily. Messages can range from simple words to entire books. Automatic writing has been part of various religious and spiritual traditions like Fuji in Chinese folk religion and Enochian Renaissance magic. It became popular in the modern era through spiritualism, with figures like W.B. Yeats and Arthur Conan Doyle practicing it. Many believe that automatic writing results from the ideomotor phenomenon, where the subconscious mind influences muscle movements without the person being aware. Numerology, formerly known as arithmancy, is the belief in a mystical or divine connection between numbers and events. This practice dates back to antiquity and involves studying the numerical values assigned to letters in words, as well as names, to uncover hidden meanings and connections. Two major systems are the Pythagorean and Agrippan methods, where the letters of the modern Latin alphabet are assigned numerical values. Key aspects include life path numbers. These are calculated from a person's birth date. This number reveals core traits and life purpose. Expression numbers, derived from a person's full name. These numbers reflect talents, skills, and personal qualities. Destiny numbers, similar to life path numbers, but these focus on life goals and the path to achieve them. And angel numbers, these are sequences of numbers that appear frequently in daily life, interpreted as messages or guidance from spiritual realms. Numerologists interpret these numbers to provide insights into a person's character, challenges, and future opportunities. Geomancy involves divination methods that interpret geographic features, markings on the ground, or patterns in soil, rocks, or sand. The term has broadened to include various Earth-related spiritual or pseudoscientific practices, such as Earth mysteries like Stonehenge, or ley lines, which are alignments drawn between various historic structures. Historically, geomancy was widely practiced in Africa and Europe, but was banned during the Renaissance. It is still used in several cultures in the practices of Sikidi and Ifa in Africa, I Ching and Feng Shui in China, Kumalak in Central Asia, or Vastu Shastra in India. An example from medieval Egypt or Syria involves a geomantic instrument with dials that, when turned, created random dot patterns for interpretation. The Arabic tradition, which involved sketching 16 random lines of dots in sand, influenced European geomancy and continues in some Arabic countries today. Augury. This is an ancient form of divination that involves interpreting the behavior of birds to gain insights or predict future events. Practiced mainly in Rome and Greece, augurs observe the flight patterns, calls, and feeding habits of birds to determine omens, the will of the gods, and make decisions. One of the most famous auguries is linked to the founding of Rome. The founders, Romulus and Remus, disagreed on which hill to build Rome. To resolve the dispute, they relied on augury. Remus saw 6 vultures first, but Romulus saw 12, leading to a clash over the god's preference. In Rome, auguries also guided elections or wars, and any mistaken interpretation was considered offensive to the gods, potentially leading to disaster. Bibliomancy. This form of divination involves using books, typically sacred or significant texts, to seek answers or guidance. Among Christians, the Bible is most commonly used, while in Islamic cultures the Quran is preferred. In the Middle Ages, Europeans often used Virgil's poem Aeneid. The process is simple. First a book is chosen. Then the seeker focuses on a question or issue needing guidance. The book then is balanced on its spine and allowed to fall open. Then a random passage is picked with the eyes closed. A variant involves selecting a random book from a library before choosing a passage. If a book falls from a shelf on its own, its passage might also be used for guidance. Aura reading. This is the practice of perceiving and interpreting the energy field or aura said to surround a person. This energy is believed to reflect a person's emotional, physical and spiritual state, which can give insight about the future. Different colors and layers in the aura are thought to represent various emotions, traits and conditions. Blue might indicate calmness, red could signify passion or anger, yellow shows creativity, black signals negative energies, while green and pink stand for compassion. Aura readers often use their intuition or psychic abilities to see or feel the aura, interpreting its colors and patterns. Tasseography is the art of divination through interpreting patterns in tea leaves, coffee grounds, or wine sediments. It's a traditional practice used to gain insights into the future or understand current situations. After drinking tea, the leaves left at the bottom of the cup are swirled and the remaining patterns are interpreted. Different shapes or symbols in the leaves are believed to represent various aspects of the seeker's life. Similar to tea leaf reading, coffee grounds are used in some cultures, especially in the Middle East and Turkey. Common symbols in tasseography include hearts, which might signify love, or birds, which could indicate news or messages, though the interpretation varies depending on the cultural context and the reader's intuition. Osteomancy is an ancient form of divination that involves interpreting the patterns and positions of bones to seek guidance and predict the future. Typically, small animal bones are thrown on the ground, then the positions, cracks, or markings on the bones are interpreted to provide insights. The process relies heavily on the reader's intuition and traditional meanings associated with different patterns. Osteomancy has been practiced in many cultures, including African, Chinese, and Native American. In ancient China, for example, the cracks formed on heated ox shoulder blades or turtle shells were used to predict the future, a practice known as scapulomancy. Lithomancy is the practice of divination using stones or crystals. The arrangement, color, reflected light, and characteristics of the stones are interpreted to predict the future. A common method involves tossing 13 stones onto a board and interpreting the pattern in which they fall. Each stone represents different concepts such as fortune, love, magic, home life, and the astrological planets like Mercury, Venus, and Mars. The practice goes back to Constantinople in the 850s. Some accounts also suggest that Helenus, a seer from ancient Troy, used lithomancy to predict the city's destruction. Astrology is a form of divination that interprets the positions and movements of celestial bodies like the sun, moon, and planets to understand human behavior and predict the future. Astrology has been practiced since at least the 2nd millennium BC. Originating from calendrical systems used to predict seasonal changes and interpret celestial cycles as divine signs. Many cultures, including the Hindus, Chinese, and Maya, developed complex systems to predict events based on observations of the sky. There are different branches, like natal astrology, which involves creating a birth chart based on the exact time and place of a person's birth. This chart shows the positions of the planets and signs of the zodiac, which are believed to influence the person's personality, relationships, and life path. Then there's mundane astrology, which focuses on predicting world events like political changes, natural disasters, or economic trends. Or the electional type, which is used to choose the best time to start a new venture, such as getting married or starting a business, based on favorable astrological conditions. In all forms of astrology, the belief is that the positions and movements of celestial bodies can provide insights. Subscribe for more videos and hit that like button to support me.